Hi guys, so this video is going to be about what constitutes plaint, what is meant by plaint, which is one of the most basic things when it comes to drafting. Every advocate is supposed to know about plaints and written statements. Not only supposed to know about them, they're supposed to have everything associated with these topics on their fingertips. So let us just start by let me just start by explaining you what do you mean by a plaint, and then we'll move on with different topics. So a plaint is basically a legal document which contains the written statement of the plaintiff's claim. A plaint is the first step towards the initiation of a suit. In fact, in the very plaint, the contents of civil suit is laid out. Now, guys, always remember that before you go and argue before you go and argue in a court of law, the judge will always see your written submission first. That is why it is very important to make your written submissions as good as your oral arguments. It mostly it happens that many of the attorneys, they do not pay that much attention to their written submissions on the pretext that they'll just pull things off easily in the oral arguments. Let me tell you, that's not how things work in a court of law. Your written arguments need to be watertight. Hence, you need to learn about everything associated with drafting a plaint and drafting a written statement. So this video will be about how a plaint is drafted, what is a plaint, and what are the contents of plaint. So through a plaint, the grievances of a plaintiff are spelled out, as well as the possible causes of action that arise in the suit. A plaint which is presented to a civil court of appropriate jurisdiction contains everything, including facts to relief that the plaintiff expects to obtain. So it hasn't been defined in the CPC per se, but it is a comprehensive document, a pleading of the plaintiff, which outlines the essentials of a suit and sets the legal wheels up and running. Order 7 of the CPC particularly deals with plaint. A few of the essentials of a plaint implicit in itself are those only material facts, and not all the facts or the law as such is it to be stated, and the facts should be concise and precise. So guys, while making a plaint, always remember that you go through order 7 of the CPC. Order 7 mentions everything, which is order 7 of civil procedure code. So order 7 of civil procedure code mentions everything which is associated with a plaint. Now again, I'll be sharing my screen with you all so that it will be easy for you all to understand the topic. Right. So here are the particulars of a plaint: the name of the particular court where the suit is initiated, name, place, and description of the plaintiff's residence, name, place, and description of the defendant's residence, a statement of unsoundness of mind or minority in case the plaintiff or the defendant belongs to either of the categories. So, if the plaintiff or the defendant is a minor or any person who is not of sound mind, then a statement to that effect is to be attached in the plaint. Otherwise, such plaint shall not be accepted in a court of law and shall be rejected by such court. The facts that led to the cause of action and when it arose, again a very important thing to mention in a plaint, especially the cause of action. The facts that point out to the jurisdiction of the court, the plaintiff's claim for relief, the amount allowed or relinquished by the plaintiff, if so, a statement containing the value of the subject matter of the suit as admitted by the case. Additional particulars, guys: order 7 rule 2 states that the plaintiff shall state the exact amount of money to be obtained from the defendant if it is a recovery suit. On the other hand, if the exact amount cannot be arrived at, as is the case with mean profits, this is mean, guys, not mesne. Never read it as mesne. It's called mean profits, as is then the case with mean profits or claim for property from the defendant. An approximate figure must be mentioned by the plaintiff. Excuse me. Order 7, Rule 3 states that when immovable property is the subject matter of the plaint, the property must be duly described. That is sufficient in the ordinary course to identify it. Order 7, Rule 3 states that when plaintiff has initiated the suit in a representative capacity. Now, the words representative capacity means if he is representing someone else on such person's behest, that person has initiated the suit. Then, whenever this happens, it has to be shown that he or she has sufficient interest, as in the person who is initiating the suit has sufficient interest in doing the same, as well as he or she has taken the required steps to ensure the same. The plaint should adequately show the involvement of the defendant, including his or her interest in the same, and thereby justifying the need to bring him or her forward. If the plaintiff files a suit after the expiration of the period of limitation, he or she must show the reason for which such an exemption from law is being claimed. So, always remember, guys, that whenever the cause of action arises, there is a limitation period attached to it, and within that limitation period only you have to file the plaint. If you were not able to file the plaint within that limitation period, then you have to attach a condonation of delay application, where you have to state the reasons as to why you delayed while filing the plaint. Now let's move on to the format. Yeah. So just a second, guys. Yeah. Guys, always remember that you have to attach verification and affidavit with the plaint as well. You cannot just straight away draft a plaint and submit it to the court for filing. You always have to, attach a verification and affidavit, because at the end of the day you are only mentioning facts and circumstances that took place and the cause of action which arose. So yeah, now I'll be presenting the format of the plaint to you. So here it is, guys. The facts of the case were, there was one Mr. Janardhan Naidu who was a borrower. This is his place of residence. He borrowed rupees 25,000, agreeing to pay 24% on 26 Feb 2008 from G. Srinivas Yadav. So Mr. Yadav here is the lender. Mr. Naidu is the borrower. They also executed a promissory note. The promissory note was subscribed by K. Venkatasubya, a document writer in Tirupati, and attested by K. Damodar Reddy and M. Subramaniam Naidu. Now, here is the format. Again, you have to mention the code. OS means original suit, guys, since you're filing it for the first time. Application like original suit number / the year in which you're filing. Here below the plaintiff's name, you have to give all his details like address, age, his father's name, etc., son of, resident of, etc. Same for the defendant. These two lines are basic. They're there in every plaint, like son of this, aged this, residing here within the jurisdiction of this honorable court. The address for services of notice, etc., on the plaintiff is as stated above. And all right, now you have to mention the facts about the 25,000 rupees. Every fact that is given there. Particulars of valuation. This is how you value the suit. So the principal amount which was borrowed by the borrower was 25,000 rupees. Interest was 24% per annum. The suit is being filed in 2011. So from 2008 to 2011, the interest amount, everything, it amounted to 14,000. Court fee is paid on relief, which is 1666 rupees, but the total valuation of the suit will be this much, as in 25,000 plus 14,000, which is 39,000 rupees. Now, prayer again, whatever reliefs you seek from the court, you just have to mention them in the prayer. And finally, name of the plaintiff, their signature, name of the advocate, their signature, list of the documents. So here it was a promissory note. Any other documents which are there, you can attach it and mention them as annexures in the index. And after that, yes, do not, again I'm repeating it, do not forget to mention the verification and affidavit along with the plaint. Always attach a verification and affidavit with the plaint. So that was it with the concept of plaint, guys. I hope I was able to explain it elaborately to you all. If not, again, you can post your queries in the comment sections below and we'll answer every doubt that you have. And I expect as I explained in my earlier video, which was on mutual divorce petition, here also, if any one of you chooses to do any task associated with plaint, then yes, you can do it. You can write a case analysis on any case related to Order 7 of CPC, Order 7, which is the plaint. Then you can make a dummy draft of a plaint itself. I'll give you the random facts for that, and you can write a blog upon that. That would be all, guys. Thank you.